Let's talk about respectability politics, what it is, where it came from, and the damage it's done to us as Black women. The term respectability politics was coined by Dr. Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham in her book Righteous Discontent. She used it to describe how Black women in the late 19th and early 20th centuries adopted certain behaviors and values to counteract racist stereotypes and gain respectability in white society. Let's take a moment to understand the world these women lived in. This was during the Jim Crow era, a time of unimaginable violence and systemic oppression. Black women were often portrayed as immoral, unclean, and unworthy of dignity. To survive, many felt that they had to prove their worth by adhering to the dominant culture's standards of respectability. This survival mechanism became a strategy. By dressing modestly, speaking properly, and distancing themselves from behaviors deemed unacceptable by white society, they hoped to protect themselves and their communities. But what started as a survival mechanism turned into something far more damaging. Respectability politics didn't dismantle white supremacy, it reinforced it by telling us that we had to assimilate in order to be seen as worthy of humanity. It taught us to police ourselves and each other, often shaming those who didn't or couldn't fit into its narrow standards. Think about how often we criticize each other, the way we dress, the way we speak, or the choices we make, all in the name of being respectable. Some examples include critiquing natural hairstyles, judging single mothers, or shaming those who don't speak proper English. Respectability politics has also disconnected us from our culture. In trying to fit into white norms, we've been taught to reject the very things that make us who we are. Our language, our traditions, our music, our hairstyles. It's assimilation disguised as survival, and it's cost us so much. When we lose touch with our culture, we lose touch with ourselves. And that's what white supremacy wants. It wants to strip us of our identity and replace it with theirs. So how do we undo the damage? First, we have to recognize when we're participating in respectability politics, whether it's judging someone for being too loud or shaming them for how they present themselves. Second, we need to reclaim our culture unapologetically. Wear your natural hair, speak your dialect, and embrace the traditions that have been handed down to us, even if they're not deemed as respectable. Also, stop policing other people's behaviors. Learn about Black cultural traditions and create safe spaces for self-expression. Respectability politics was born out of a need to survive, but it's not a path to liberation. Liberation comes from rejecting the idea that we have to prove our worth to anyone. It comes from embracing who we are fully, loudly, and unapologetically. We need to stop holding ourselves and each other to standards that were never meant for us. It's time to reclaim our culture, our traditions, and our power.